if the panic hits here the way it's hit in China, those grocery shelves will be empty in 2 days.
Hey friends, before we start this interview with Stefan Verstappen, just a quick word from Virtual Shield. Are you using a VPN to watch this video? Well, if you're not, you should. Keep in mind that Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, and Bill Gates are some of the creepiest dudes on the planet, and many of you are willingly letting them know everything about you on a daily basis. And the only real protection against these digital tyrants is the use of a VPN. A VPN is a virtual private network. It's a server where you log on before you browse the internet, and it basically masks or hides your identity. Sign up for a free 30-day trial of Virtual Shield VPN mobile and desktop app, and it will shield your browsing activity from the prying eyes of Big Brother, whether on a public Wi-Fi connection, in a foreign country, or at home. Here, let me show you how easy it is. You just go to virtualshield.com or the Google Play Store and download the Virtual Shield free 30-day trial, install it, and click Connect. Now that I'm connected, my IP address is one coming out of Chicago, and I don't live anywhere near Chicago, Illinois. In honor of the unexpected passing of one of the NBA's all-time greats, this month, Virtual Shield is offering 24% off all VPN plans and all premium add-ons. So sign up for a free 30-day trial to Virtual Shield VPN and see what the hype's about. You have nothing to lose and your privacy to keep. I'll leave the link below this video. And welcome back. Friends, thank you so much for clicking play. It's terrific to have you all back. We're going to talk about the coronavirus. Surprise, again today, because the news continues to come at us faster than we can keep up. COVID-19 is spreading. Shocking spike in COVID-19 cases puts Beijing on high alert. Officials reportedly weigh Wuhan-level lockdown in Beijing. And get this, overnight, the confirmed cases in South Korea just spiked by 2/3 to 104. This thing continues to spread, and we're not trying to fearmonger. In fact, what we're going to do in this interview is try to equip you with the knowledge of ways to protect you and your family. And to that end, I have on the line Stefan Verstappen. He's a friend of the show. We've had him on several times in the past. His book, The Art of Urban Survival, just may help you learn how to survive pandemics and plagues. Stefan, welcome back.
Well, thanks for having me back, Sean. Always a pleasure.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. First, I just want to share with people, my friend Carrie Rivera, who I've had on, we've talked about vaccines and treatments for those with autism and people on the spectrum. She believes that chlorine dioxide might be helpful in killing this thing in terms of protecting yourself. First of all, Stefan, as somebody who's lived in China, what do you make of this? These empty streets, this economic impact. It cannot be overstated how critical this thing is fast becoming for the global economy. It's just quite shocking. And if they put Beijing on lockdown, all bets are off.
Well, I'm very surprised to see what's going on in China. I've traveled throughout China. I've lived in China. I've written 2 books on China. So I know the country very well. And to see those streets empty is a shock, but it's also a big warning for the rest of us. I know it's hard to believe that when you go out in the street or you get in your car and you drive downtown or on your way to work, you see all the people, everybody's working and the stores are full of food and groceries and the lights are on, and you think, nothing can happen to us. We're pretty safe here. We've got good infrastructure. It can't get that bad here. But this is a real wake-up call, folks. I know Sean has said this many times before, and I can confirm this as well, and that is our civilization is a thin veneer. It can go in a heartbeat. And the lesson I take from China is this. If you go to China at any other time of the year for the last 20 years, into any city, big, medium, small, doesn't matter, and you go out on the streets, it is like rush hour traffic on the 410 in LA. I mean, it's bumper to bumper. There's hundreds of thousands of people, cars on the street, even the sidewalks, walking down the sidewalk in Hong Kong. I mean, you are 10 wide and a sea, because I'm a little bit taller than most Chinese, so I tower above them. So my view of the street or a sidewalk in China is a river of black hair. I see the tops of their heads. And I mean, you literally have to bump and shoulder, and you have to be like a linebacker to get through a street. So there you see, thriving, prosperous, populous busy markets, everything, food and grocery stores open everywhere. And now look what happened. Within a month, it's like a ghost city. It's like the zombie apocalypse. You hardly see anyone on the streets. You hardly see any cars out there. And I don't know how much longer China is going to be able to take this, because I personally believe China is on its way down. I can't imagine how they can keep on going. It is such a brutal, insane society. And, it's propped up with funny money. And how much longer can they take this? But for us, the lesson is, and this, again, the thing with this virus is all of this is happening because of fear. There haven't been millions of deaths yet. This is just for the fear of the violence, and it's closed down. Shanghai, Wuhan, going to close down Beijing, Hong Kong, Shenzhen. I mean, and now you have these empty cities with nothing going on, no business. The grocery stores are already going to be empty. There won't be any food to buy. There won't be any food being trucked in because they're quarantined. They can't get supplies through. And within a month, it has gone from a vibrant, busy center of commerce to a ghost town. And that's how fast it can happen. And the trigger for this is just the rumor and the fear of a virus.
Well, the other thing, though, that's happening is that as it spreads outside of China, we can see how virulent this thing is. And it's one thing to have a contagion, but once the contagion becomes an epidemic and the epidemic becomes a pandemic, which means it spreads globally, it is a real wake-up call. And then the fear is palpable because the fear is real. The fear is that you might get the virus, your children might get the virus, your neighbors might get the virus. People are dropping dead. And I don't think it's just fear-mongering coming out of China, because if we look at the Diamond Princess, that ship that was quarantined in Japan, the number of cases on that ship continue to grow, and 2 passengers have now died from the coronavirus. Meanwhile, they've let a lot of these passengers off because they quarantined them for 14 days, which was the previous thinking. There was a 14-day incubation period. But now evidence is pointing to the fact that this thing has an incubation period far longer, maybe as long as 28 days. So now they've released all these passengers into the general public. I don't know, Stefan. It just begs the question, how bad could this thing get?
Oh, it could get really bad, and especially with that such a long incubation period, 28 days. For people that haven't been following up on the medical, I'll give you a quick rundown. What it means is that you can be sick with this virus and not show any symptoms. So you don't have a sore throat, you're not coughing, you don't have a runny nose. You feel like you're perfectly healthy, but you are infected. And as you go about your daily activities, you are spreading that infection all around you. Every time you touch something, you're leaving behind that infection. So what could happen is, theoretically, Sean, you and I could already be infected. We don't know it. We got infected 3 weeks ago. We don't know it. And then suddenly, next week, we get sick. This is why, this type of a bioweapon is a great weapon for the powers that be, for the New World Order, for the deep state. I mean, they're safe behind their, they're gated communities. They probably already have vaccines for it. And just sit back and wait for everybody to drop dead. And then once they're dropped dead, you still have the infrastructure intact. You don't have to bomb cities, destroy everything. You can just spread this virus, everybody drops dead, then you move in, take over the factories, take over the banks, whatever you want. It's yours for the picking. So because this is such a wonderful weapon for the psychopaths that run the world, I really am not confident that they won't use it. And so my personal discipline has been for the last few years, because listen, we know, Sean, you and I and your listeners know, they want to get rid of us. It's on the Georgia Guidestones. They want a big culling of the population. They don't need us. They got robots. So they want to get rid of a lot of us, and they're going to do it one day soon. They're going to do it because why? They're psychopaths. They can't help themselves. So what are they going to do? Again, might be an EMP. It might be, a terrorist attack, some nukes or dirty bombs. But all of that is really messy. It's a lot simpler just to release a virus. Get one infected guy, send him out into the crowd. Within 2 months, half the world's population is dead. easy peasy, very simple for them to do that. So I've known this for a long time. You and your listeners know this too. They're out to get us one way or another. And because I've known this for a long time, I have been practicing social distancing and personal grooming and cleansing habits for the last 4 or 5 years. I don't go out in public. And that when I do go out in public, well, here in Canada, I get to wear a scarf because it's cold. But actually, what I'm doing is I got a mask and a scarf over it. So I'm not obvious, um, but I am wearing like trying to screen out. I stay away from people, wash my hands. I make it a habit never to touch my face when I'm outside in public until I've come home and washed. And then I'm a bit of a neat freak myself, and I use bleach. Everybody can always tell when I'm cleaning because the whole house smells like bleach. But I like bleach because it kills all the infections and the bacteria and the viruses. So when I come home, first I wash up, and then I go through. I bleach the door handle that I used when I walked in the door, right? Because I haven't washed my hands yet. So if I have the infection, it's on the outside door handle to my house. Then if I leave and I close the door, I got the infection on my hand again.
Wait, can I jump in?
Yeah.
Well, let me just jump in, Stefan, and say, boy, for anybody who is obsessive compulsive listening to this interview, I'm sorry, because what you're saying is probably very smart, but boy, if we all started to do that on a daily basis, we could drive ourselves crazy. And I just want to make the point that what we're seeing in China, as scary as it is, we're not seeing that here yet. So there's no reason, folks, to be absolutely petrified of this thing. I just wanted to have the discussion with Stefan to talk about ways that if it does get bad, ways that you can protect yourself. Because one thing, Stefan, about this virus that is quite scary is that unlike the chicken pox, you get it once, you never get it again.
Mm-hmm.
Evidently, you can get this thing once and you can get it again. You don't build up an immunity to it. And that, to me, perhaps points to its origins as being a bioweapon, which gets back to your original point, is that this is a really clever way to reduce global population if they released it on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't mean to make people too paranoid. Look, it's a very simple, it's self-discipline. You wake up, you wash your face, you brush your teeth, um, comb your hair. It's in line with that. I come home, I wash my hands, and I disinfect the doorknobs and any surfaces I might have touched. I got just a paper towel, and I got bleach in a spray bottle. I just go around and give it a quick spray. I know it sounds paranoid, but the thing is, if it hits North America, and with a 28-day incubation period, plus I've heard reports saying that it can last equally as long on a flat surface. So somebody could have come in last month, touched your desk.
Yeah, I don't think it was quite that long, not a whole month. I think I did see something more, maybe it was 7 or 8 days. I'd have to research that. But yeah, this thing can survive on a flat surface. But can I ask you something? You know what strikes me as interesting about this conversation is that the reason we're all concerned about this thing is because 99% of us, maybe not quite that high, but probably close, live in urban areas, or we live in densely packed neighborhoods. We live among others. We have a just-in-time food delivery system. So we know the grocery stores could be bare in 2 or 3 days if there was a run on food. So what strikes me as interesting about this, and lucky if you're one of those listening who is a homesteader and has acres out in the middle of nowhere and have your own food supply, your chickens, your goats, your cows, your own milk, your own food, this thing really wouldn't affect you at all if you're on a homestead somewhere. If you're up north in a cabin in the woods and you know how to fend for yourself, this thing would be very easy to survive if you had those self-reliant skills. Most of us don't. Most of us are in neighborhoods or urban areas, Stefan, and that's what's so scary about a pandemic.
Oh yeah, it will spread like wildfire during in the cities. It always has. Same thing happened during the Black Death. It was the people that lived in the cities where there was a lot of garbage and a lot of rats. They all got infected first, but the kings and queens would go to their country estate, and they could ride it out because there wasn't as compacted, as dense population wise. But yeah, so I recommend just doing the social distancing right now because like I said, with that 28-day incubation period, it could already have infected millions of Americans as we speak right now. We don't know it yet because they haven't shown the symptoms. So don't wait until your neighbors start getting sick before you start practicing these safety precautions.
But
Not a big
Stefan,
deal.
let me jump in though again though and just say
Yeah.
that I think that's really wise if you're independently wealthy. How do you do social distancing if you have to go to your job every day? If you go to a high-rise building in a downtown urban area, you can't quit your job. You've got a family to support. You've got a mortgage to pay. Now, it's one thing to say, I'm not going to go to a football game or a concert. I'm not going to go to the mall for no good reason. But it's a whole nother thing to say, well, I'm not going to go be around people, so I'm going to stop going to my job. That's just not practical.
No, I know that's not practical, but by social distancing, when you're at the workplaces, you stay 3 feet away from somebody, you know. And I had a guy come over. He was doing a delivery. He comes over every couple of months and delivers some product. And he's in the car. I said, "Don't get out of the car, Mike, because coronavirus, no shaking hands. Sorry." You know, I just tell people I don't care if they think I'm eccentric or bizarre because listen, if it's a survival situation, which this very well may be a black swan event that could possibly bring down, you know, the economy and the delivery systems for months, maybe even a year. If it's that kind of an event and you're sick, you're not going to survive it. The most important survival ingredient or tool that you have is your own health. So first and foremost, you got to make sure that you don't get sick. And so when you're at the office, you know, try and stay 3 feet away from people. That's all. And you can do it subtly, you know, get the desk between you and the person that came to see you and turn your head to the side so that you're not breathing directly into their face and they're not breathing directly into your face. Remember, the most common way of this virus infecting you is by touching your face. Your hand touches something and then you touch your eyes, your nose, your ears, or your mouth. And that's how the virus most viruses tend to get into your body. So you have to be kind of self-aware because touching your face is a subconscious activity. You know, you feel a little crusty in the corner of your eye. You reach your finger in to rub your eye. That's instinctive. It happens almost unconsciously, but we'll have to bring those types of activities into your conscious awareness. If you need to get the crusty out of your eye, go to the bathroom and wash your hands first. That's all I'm saying. If you do that, you already eliminate most of the chances of you getting infected. Now, if it goes airborne, and again, we don't know, but there's reports that it is airborne. But what I think they mean by airborne is that it stays in the moisture particles that linger in the air after somebody has coughed or sneezed or been speaking really loud, frothing
Right.
at the mouth. But if it's airborne, then okay, you can inhale it, and then there's nothing you can do to prevent that because the masks don't work. And I've got the masks. I got them in my first aid kits, but they don't work. So even if you wore a mask at the office, it won't prevent it from airborne. But at least what we can do is prevent like manual transmission from our hands to our face. And look, that's the best you can do. I know we're not independently wealthy. You can't stay home from work for a month until it blows over. But for now, at least practice that. Keep some hand sanitizers around, maybe some Lysol disinfectant spray. Be sure to, once a day, wipe down your phones. Buttons are a common source of transmission. You know, the elevator button, the keyboard button on
Stay
the
away from that hotel room remote control.
yeah, I'd stay away from that anyways.
Disgusting. Well, let me ask you this, Stefan. I want to talk about prepping. And, if we take a look at what's going on in Wuhan as they literally weld people into their apartments and weld doors shut and make it so that people can't come out. If we were to have to shelter in place in this country for any length of time, I don't think most people are prepared. Most people don't have enough food to survive. Say you have a family of 4. How many people in this country have enough food and water to survive sheltering in place for just even 30 days? What would you recommend people do? How much food and water do we need on hand to call ourselves prepared?
Well, this is the other thing we should be doing now. Even though, no, maybe nobody is sick and there's, no dead bodies in the street yet, right now is the time to start stocking up on food and water. If you've been a follower of Sean and if you listen to some of my videos, you should be a prepper already. I mean, it should be a basic component of your household stockpile to have a month's supply of food, have some kind of a firearm. I don't recommend AR-15s or anything, even if it's a single shot 410 shotgun, some kind of a firearm, a medical kit, and a good medical kit. Don't get some crappy thing from Amazon for $25. Put your own kit together with lots of medications, and you should have that. Everybody should have that anyways. Our ancestors, our grandparents and great grandparents, they had to prepare for winter, and for winter they stockpiled 6 months worth of food until the spring came again. That's why they did their own canning and their own preserves, and they made their own liquor and their own jams and all that, because they had to. It was part of their everyday life activity, was to stockpile. We've lost that because of the convenience of grocery stores. We've lost the sense that we should have something in the house. But we got to get over that. You got to start now while there are still food on the shelves. Go and buy every day a little bit extra. I've been doing that all month now. When this coronavirus came out, I went, every time I go to the grocery store, I'm going to buy an extra $25 worth of canned lasagna, brown beans and pork and brown beans and soups. And, I buy an extra $25 every week. Now it's been 6 weeks. I've got an extra month's supply of food in addition to the food that I've already stockpiled. I got a 20-pound bag of rice, lots of Roman noodles, buy a 20-pound bag of flour so you can make your own bread. It's very easy to make bread, and get some lard and butter, because making bread without butter is, but it's cardboard. But if you have a lot of lard and butter, mix it in with the flour, you can bake your own bread. You can make your own pies and things like that. Get some of the basic ingredients that last a long time and spread a long way. Spaghetti is good. It lasts forever. It fills your belly. You only need a little bit of tomato sauce and maybe a little bit of ground beef to make it taste okay. So stockpile on that and have at least 1 month's supply. Do it now, folks, while there's still food on the shelves, because if the panic hits here the way it's hit in China, you'll see all those grocery stores. Sean, you've told them, I've told them, your previous guests have all said the same thing. Those grocery shelves will be empty in 2 days.
Well, think of this too. All right, I've mentioned this, and this is not stock advice, guys. Okay, I'm not a financial advisor. This is absolutely 100% not advice. And I'm not doing this myself because the Fed continues to pump money into the economy, and the stock markets basically just go up in spite of all this bad news. Now, they may be down today, they may be down tomorrow, but ultimately, the charts just keep going straight up because of the Fed easy money. Now we see China injecting a record 5 trillion yuan in new debt into the economy to try to stop an economic crash in China. That's 725 billion USD in 1 month. It's the single biggest injection of cash in China on record. So, getting back to what you were saying though, the grocery stores are one thing. If one wanted to consider shorting certain companies that certainly must be going down in the future in terms of their stock price, I would take a look at Walmart and Target. Because those stores are stocked with stuff made in China. Yeah. And if you look at the Baltic Dry Index, if you look at the shipping traffic, if you look at all the factories that are now basically closed in China, where's the merchandise that's sold in a Target or Walmart going to come from, Stefan? Go out a month, go out 2 months. I wonder if we're going to see empty shelves in these retail stores.
Well, and then this could have a domino effect too, because Walmart, look, let's face the truth is that the central banks and Wall Street funded China. Starting about 25 years ago, they funded all of this stuff. China, for those who might not know this, I think, and this is my personal opinion, but based on my many years researching and living and traveling through China, and I still keep in touch with a lot of the expats that live there. I hear all the stories. China is the trump card for the New World Order. The way I know this is because of the media coverage. The media, the mainstream media, is a perfect reverse barometer. Whoever the media hates, is good. And whoever the media gives a pass to, is evil. So we have all these media reports about Syria and Libya and Iran and Iraq and how bad they all are. And, human rights abuses, we got to go over there and bomb them. But do they ever mention Saudi Arabia, one of the most savage countries on the world? They still chop people's hands off. They still bury women up to their waist in a pit and kill them by throwing rocks at them. I mean, is there a bad article about Saudi Arabia? No. And that's because Saudi Arabia is part of the New World Order. They're one of the pawns. They're in on the plan, and that's their tool. And it's the same thing with China. This whole coverage about the coronavirus and how the mainstream media is fawning over China and Xi Jinping there the guy's a dictator. Oh my God, he's like Stalin. This is exactly the events we've seen back in 1916, 1918, when the same people, the Wall Street bankers and the central bank, poured all that money into Bolshevik Russia to start the revolution. They have done the same thing with China. It's the same people behind it. And they got their little dictator installed. First it was Stalin in Russia, now it's Xi Jinping in China. They got their dictator in there, and they've got their Orwellian system of surveillance and facial recognition software and and look what they do, the organ transplants, the concentration camps, they pick up dissidents and they disappear them into torture camps and they execute them by the thousands. And
well, by the way,
yeah.
let me jump in and just say that may be what's going on here too. So this is a handy way to get rid of dissidents in China too, by the way. You remember all those protests in Beijing. Now that's all been quelled. It takes away the momentum that was being built up among patriots all over the world, right?
Yes.
And it does make one wonder if maybe this thing was concocted and released on purpose for so many different reasons, because the New World Order, those that run the planet, they don't want to see any more Brexits.
No.
They don't want to see any more President Trumps. They don't want to see any more unrest to their global chessboard.
Yes.
And, this becomes very, very handy, a very handy tool to quell protests and round up dissidents in China.
Yeah. It's really frightening because it's a win-win for the New World Order. This virus is the best thing that ever happened to them. First of all, they get to scare population. They get to round them up and quarantine them. The virus will probably kill off a lot of the old useless eaters in China because they have too many old people there. If a few million of them drop dead, good for China. If the rest of the world is cowered into fear and they force vaccinations on people, which we already see now, which is outrageous that, all these countries are passing laws forcing people to get vaccinated, which is completely immoral and illegal, but they're going to go ahead and do it. God knows what's in those vaccines, but you better get one or you won't be able to drive a car or buy groceries or whatever. So it's a win-win for them. That's why que bono. It's, who benefits? Follow the money. Right. Who benefits? The New World Order benefits from this. Not you and me, Sean. We don't benefit at all. But the New World Order, and same thing in China. They got, the Hong Kong protests were going strong. They were waving American flags. They were praising Trump. America. And listen, I remember the Tiananmen demonstrations back in the mid 80s.
Tiananmen Square, right?
Yes.
That's right. China does not like those types of protests.
They're going to run you over.
They crush them and they crush the protesters pretty quickly.
Yeah, and when I was in Tiananmen Square a number of years later, I spoke to the locals. They said that they had to bring in bulldozers to scrape the blood off the square because it was coagulated and rock solid 2 feet deep.
Oh, that's horrible.
So, this is what the New World Order does. They don't care how many people they have to kill. That's why we have to be smart and careful now.
Well, and it sounds a little bit crackerjacks that we're saying that the New World Order people are this bad, right? If you're new to this information, you're going to think we're just nutty conspiracy theorists. But I want to remind people that in October of this past year, just a few months ago, John Hopkins Center for Health Security, in partnership with the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, hosted Event 201, a
Yes.
pandemic exercise to
Uh-huh.
illustrate preparedness in the system or lack thereof. You just can't make this stuff up, guys. Call it a coincidence. Let's just do that. Let's just call it one giant, remarkable coincidence that in October they held Event 201 and they basically ran an exercise mirroring what's happening now. And now the reality of the thing is that it's rolling out and becoming a global issue.
It's not a coincidence, you know it, and I know it. Every time the New World Order stages some giant terrorist attack, what a surprise. Just the day before, there was a drill, a simulation of the exact same terrorist attack that occurred the next day. We saw that with 9/11. We saw that with the London bombings. We saw that with Sandy Hook. I can't say that word. Um, you know, we've seen it every single time they pull one of these big terrorist stunts. Well, it just so happened the day before, the week before, the month before, they were doing a test run of that scenario to
Right.
make sure that they've got it all planned out. It's not a coincidence, Sean. You know that. You're just being you're just being gracious.
I know, and you're right about the 7/7 bombings. We have that famous soundbite, I guess infamous soundbite
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
from I think it's Peter Powers might have been his name, but yeah, he said we were running a scenario just this morning of the exact same thing in the exact same place when the drill went live. I mean,
Yeah.
so they basically tell us what they're going to do before they do it in many
Yes.
cases. Getting back to the economy, key Apple supplier Hynix tells 800 workers to stay home after trainee contracts virus. So that's the problem, guys, is that we are going to see a ripple effect throughout the global economy. Um, I think before we wrap this thing up, we've probably talked enough about the coronavirus, Stefan. I wanted to get your thoughts on the upcoming election. The clown show we saw the other night with the Democrat debate and Michael Bloomberg got destroyed, which is terrific because the guy's a complete and total joke. He's an oligarch. I mean, he's literally an oligarch. He controls a media company, a Mockingbird mainstream media company, Bloomberg News. The last person that I would want out of probably all of those lunatics to be in
Yeah.
the White House is Michael Bloomberg. And I can't stand any of the rest of them either.
No.
Your thoughts on this dog and pony show, this deep state versus we the people, the deep state versus President Trump, the deep state versus humanity, because now we're seeing Roger Stone sentenced to 3 years in prison
That's awful.
for really a non-crime. I mean, they went after him to make an example of him, to try to hurt anybody associated with Trump, to try to bring down Trump. And now Roger Stone has been sentenced to 3 years in prison. Meanwhile, James Comey, John Brennan, Hillary Clinton, Barry Soetoro, they all roam free. Are we ever going to see justice, Stefan?
Well, Sean, I gotta be honest with you. I'm pretty black-pilled these days. I don't think we're going to see justice, and that's why my recommendation to the listeners and everybody that follows me is start to make a safe space for yourself. Start to get a small group of people together, form a community. That's been my latest talking points, is the need to work together, form our own tribes. It's like a neo-tribalism, so that we can support each other and survive what's coming, because they're going to tear it down. And here's the thing: we've talked about psychopaths before, Sean, and we were talking about the Pizzagate and the psychopathic tendencies of the people behind that, and how psychopaths, for some reason, one of their modus operandi is raping children. They just love to do that. And, we live in a world full of psychopaths. So Pizzagate was real, is real. Same thing with the movie Hostel. That's what these people are like. And I know it sounds like wild conspiracy theory, but folks, there are people that are not human. They have a psychology that is so alien to you that if you could actually see what they were thinking, you would be horrified. Now, here's the problem. We are making some progress. We've seen Brexit. We've seen here in Canada, Alberta wants to separate, and now Oregon wants to separate, and Virginia wants to succeed. These are all good signs. We've had nationalism or populism on the rise all over the world. We had the protests in Hong Kong and the French protests in Paris that went on for a year and a half. Now, the problem is when you corner a psychopath, they become very vicious. And so we are making progress. And this Democratic primary, I'm speechless. I can't believe you could find so many lunatics to stand up on stage at one time. It's beyond comprehension. They're not going to win anything. None of these Democrats have a chance against Trump. Guaranteed. Who's going? Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, your token gay guy. I wish Bloomberg and Hillary would team up, because that would be hilarious. Bloomberg would commit suicide 2 months after winning the election, and then Hillary would rule as the evil Red Queen. Oh my God, I'd like to see that, but that's not going to happen. So Trump is destined to win in 2020, in my opinion. The Democrats they're falling apart. But that's what happens with socialists. They can't wind a watch. They can't run anything, as we've seen. And anywhere there's, the Democrats are in power, every city, every state has turned to shit. So they will lose. But here's the problem. Now they're losing, and they're psychopaths. So now they are going to get vicious. And that's why I worry that something like this coronavirus, they will use that to tear things down. So even though we are making progress, hopefully we can bring these people to justice. I'm not counting on it. I'm counting on my ability to survive whatever happens, and counting on my team to work with me to provide a safe plan for whatever happens. Doesn't matter. But they're going to get vicious, and they're going to lose the election. And we know the liberals are going to lose it. Their heads will all explode if they lose the next election, and then they might do something really nasty. And I'm just saying, something like the virus. Maybe this is just a trial run with the coronavirus, and in 6 months, as we head up into November, into the election, they release their real tough virus that will really kill millions of people. I don't put it past them, and that's what I'm saying, folks. Prepare now. My final bit of advice before we go, Sean, I know we're running out of time, is food. Throughout history, the psychopaths have used starvation as a weapon. It's very effective. You release the virus, the cities shut down, the grocery stores are empty. 2 months later, everybody's dead from starvation. And the infrastructure's left intact. They can come in, they can steal all the gold and whatever, and they can get the society up and running again a year later. But meanwhile, half the population is gone. And I wouldn't put it past them. They will do that, especially with a Trump win. I'm worried about the backlash from the lunatics, the psychopaths, what they're capable of doing. And they're not going to sit by idly. They're going to do something serious. So let's all get ready now. Again, starvation is their key weapon. We've seen it throughout history, even back to the Irish potato famine. There was no potato famine. They starved those Irish people on purpose. And that's what they always do. They try and starve you. So 1 month's supply of food, but preferably 6 months. That way you can wait it out while everybody else is getting hungry. And most people don't die from starvation per se. They die from diseases caused by malnutrition, and when you're suffering from malnutrition, even a normal flu virus can kill you then. So it doesn't even have to be the most deadliest germ. They can release whatever, but if they starve you at the same time, it's going to have the same effect on the number of casualties. Yeah. So food, stockpile it. I don't make a lot of money, Sean, as you know, but this month I put $200 aside to buy some silver. Mm-hmm. I keep adding to it a little bit. Every month I try to buy $100, $200. But more important than silver and gold is food.
Absolutely. Food is gold. Food is the real gold in a pandemic situation, a lockdown situation. But if I may, I would like to say that my buddies over at SD Bullion, they offer free shipping on any order over $100. So if you don't have a lot of money to buy silver, you just want to buy 5 or 6 coins, that's the best way to do it, guys.
Oh, I'm going to do
free
that.
Shipping, because the shipping will kill you. I mean, if you're going to buy 2 ounces of silver, you're going to pay $8 in shipping or more.
No, $20 here.
Yeah, so if you buy, oh, really? If you buy Okay. But if you buy $100 or more worth of silver from SD Bullion, my buddies over there, they'll ship it for free. And they're running a
Okay.
special right now. If you buy 19 SGT report coins, you get the 20th one for free. And you can see that banner, that ad at the top of SGT report if you guys are interested. But yeah, SD Bullion, free shipping on any order over $100. I
That's a
didn't mean
great
to
deal.
interrupt. I just wanted to flesh out your idea though. Silver,
Yeah.
gold, absolutely have some. Why not? But my goodness, friends, prepare, get some food, get some water. Better
Yeah.
to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Before we say goodbye, I just want to share this tweet from our president, Donald J. Trump. They say Roger Stone lied to Congress. He's quoting CNN.
Hmm.
Oh, I see. But so did Comey. And he also leaked classified information for which almost everyone, other than crooked Hillary Clinton, goes to jail for a long time. And so did Andy McCabe, who also lied to the FBI. Fairness? I think at the end of the day, Stefan, that is the thing that is absolutely devastating so many of us, is
Yes.
the lack of fairness, the inequality in the justice system, the
Yeah.
lack of true justice. The hardcore deep state criminals walk free while
Yeah.
guys like Roger Stone are going to do 3 years in prison for basically a non-crime. I mean, it's just really deflating for those of us that believe in a higher power and we believe in the battle between good and evil, and we would like to see good have just a few more wins.
I know. I know. I keep waiting for a win. And like I said, I tend to be black-pilled myself, but I'm a warrior. I'm not going down, Sean. I'm not giving up. I'm going to be fighting, and I'm going to die on my feet if I have to. And I'm going to resist and do what I can to survive it and resist these lunatics. And doing that means getting a team together, get some friends, some neighbors, co-workers, family members, sit down and make a plan and make sure everybody's got at least 2 months supply of food. And if you have to pool your money together to buy some bulk items like rice and beans and pasta, then do that. Also, pool your money, get a good first aid kit together, get some good first aid supplies, and look after each other. This is the only way we're going to survive. United we stand, divided we fall. And the problem with the conservatives and the patriots and the nationalists is we don't work together. You look at the liberals, something happens to one of the liberals, well, they're out in mass, they're screaming, they're throwing garbage, they're deplatforming, they're filing complaints. You got 10,000 lunatics screaming at you, waving the finger at you. Something happens to a conservative, it's crickets. Where's our support? Where's the 10,000 people in outrage sending emails and Twitter responses saying that this is unfair, that this should happen to somebody just because they are a conservative? I mean, the odds are stacked against us. We've got to support each other, people. The liberals do it. They've got them all riled up. They're fanning the flames of hatred. You should see these people.
Yeah.
They're lunatics. They want to kill us.
But they're a paper tiger, man. I mean, if there's good news in this thing, it's that the left is a paper tiger. They don't have the numbers. If you think about the talking points of George Soros, they transfer nicely over to the talking points of Hillary Clinton and Mike Bloomberg and Bernie Sanders and Pocahontas. These are globalist talking points.
Yeah.
Most Americans, red-blooded Americans who love their country, who love their families, who love the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, I would say 75% of this country is not brainwashed to those George Soros talking points. 75% of this country loves their country enough and loves their family enough to understand that the talking points coming from the left are anti-human talking points. So they're literally a paper tiger, and the only reason they're propped up even still today is because of the mainstream mockingbird media.
Yeah.
Propping up that paper tiger.
But it's not just the mainstream mockingbird media. Yes, they control the media, but the scary thing is they control the justice system. How many times have we seen conservative protesters getting rousted by the police while Antifa and the SHWs attack them, and the police stand by and do nothing. They got the police, they got the judicial system, they got the media, and then they've got PayPal and Facebook and YouTube and Bill Gates, and everybody is on their side. So they got billions and billions of dollars. They own all the media, all the channels of communication, and they also own the police. This is what really scares me, because I don't know if you've seen that Caitlin Bennett video the other day when she went to Ohio State, and like 1,000 college students went absolutely bonkers, screaming and yelling, and she went to the police officer there, and he said, "No, I can't help you." Yeah. What do you mean you can't help me? This I found outrageous, that cops will stand by while conservative speakers, conservative opinions, patriots are lambasted and attacked and brutalized by mobs of hate-filled lunatics, and the cops stand by and do nothing. We've seen this time and time again. That's what scares me. And then also the corporations, so you have a tweet, you made a funny joke about a fat woman 20 years ago. Suddenly human resources is going to call you in and fire you. How come they have the power to do that? How come all these big corporations with their human resources departments, and human resources is nothing more than a communist commissariat. They're the communist political agents in every company that has more than 50 employees. Make no mistake about it. That's what HR is. And they fire these people. How do they have the power to deplatform and fire people like that, even though they are a minority? And let's face it, they're the lunatic fringe, but they have the power to do that. So that's why we are, I'd like to see some more wins too, Sean. I really do. But meanwhile, we have to behave like the French and the Dutch and the Swedish and the Norwegians did during the German occupation. We have to form underground guerrilla resistance movements. And by guerrilla, I mean, we support each other with food and medicine and clothing and heating oil, whatever it is that we need to supply it for ourselves so that we don't succumb to the overall manipulation of the big players.
Yeah, I agree with you, Stefan. Look, it's always nice to get together with a like-minded patriot and have a conversation, and I really appreciate your time. I want to let people know that they can find you on YouTube. Your YouTube channel is your same name, Stefan Verstappen. Do you want to spell that for him, the last name?
Oh, yeah, Verstappen.
All right. Your most current video there is called How to Survive Pandemics and Plagues, so people can check that out. You have about 11,000 subscribers, so hopefully we can add some more to that tally for you. And I really appreciate your time, Stefan. Thank you.
No, thanks for having me on again, Sean. And listen, it's bad, but we all got to stay positive. And if we can stay positive and support each other, we'll win this. We will.
Amen. All right. From your lips to God's ears, my friend. Our guest has been Stefan Verstappen. Thank you, bud.
Thank you, Sean.
All right. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in. A special shout out to my patrons who are keeping us in the fight for truth, despite YouTube's attempts to silence us. And we really appreciate you guys. If this information resonated with you, please give it a like. Make sure that you've clicked the notification bell so you can get future video updates from me when I post them. And for real news 24/7, you guys can visit us directly at sgtreport.com, the antidote to corporate propaganda. God bless, guys. Bye-bye.
Everything's dirt cheap. Everything you need and to sustain yourself is actually quite cheap. You get all the amenities of the West, but at a much lower cost.